Brain damage, Iowa man awarded a massive $27 million verdict over a botched flu diagnosis. So, an Iowa man whose life threatening case of bacterial meningitis was dismissed as just the flu by doctors won a $27 million court verdict over the botched diagnosis, which left him brain damage, a report said. The Polk County jury found in favor of Joseph Dudley and wife Sarah Dudley in their 2017 case against the Unity Point Clinic Family Medicine in Des Moines, which was accused of failing to properly detect his serious ailment, according to a report by ABC News. Mr. Dudley will suffer from a lifetime of permanent brain damage because they failed to perform a simple blood test, a complete blood count, the couple's lawyer, Nick Rowley, said. Which, by the way, is very simple to actually get a blood test. Just FYI. Joseph visited the clinic in February 2017 with symptoms including dizziness, headaches, a fever, cough, and delusions, where a physician's assistant overseeing the clinic gave him the less serious flu diagnosis despite a negative test result. Joseph was sent home with Tamiflu and pain relievers before landing in a hospital emergency room 2 days later, where doctors said he had bacterial meningitis, Rowley said. Joseph had to be placed in a medically induced coma for 8 days and had multiple strokes during that time, the lawyer said. The strokes left Joseph with a slew of health issues, including hearing loss in his right ear, vertigo, numbness in his feet and legs, cognitive impairment, and delayed reflexes, Rowley said. Unity Point spokesman Mark Tushuk maintained that the company upheld proper care standards. We respect the jury process but strongly disagree with this verdict and are exploring all options, including an appeal, Tushuk said. The thing is, for a jury to deem them basically responsible for this is probably a lot worse than this article probably expresses, right? Meaning, I'm pretty glad that the individual got this massive payday. I hope he still has a massive payday even after them trying to do this whole appeal thing. But the thing is, I'm worried because he has less cognitive function due to this whole issue. So, him and his wife need to be extremely careful in how they manage this money and how they use this money, right? Because you want them to be in a situation where they use the money and not be used by the money, right? The money is a tool for them, not the other way around. So, if I was in their situation, what I would do is pay off any debt that I might have probably a year of an emergency fund just because you have such a massive amount of money. Why not? Then I'll probably pay off the house if they're living in a house or buy myself a house cash. Nice house, something that I could like live there for a very long time, maybe potentially forever. Really depends. Then I'll put some money towards investments that will just reinvest the dividends that it pops out. So basically, something maybe like a SPY and just have it reinvest in itself over and over and over again and literally never touch that money. And then the other one would probably buy a few more properties where they would produce some sort of cash flow so that I can live off of that cash flow and never really touch the initial amount, the principal that I would be putting into these investments, right? So, for example, I don't know if he necessarily needs to pay taxes or not because every state is different. He may not even have to pay taxes. So, if he were to get the actual full $27 million amount, I'd probably allocate the money like this if it's all tax free, right? If. I'd probably put about $50,000 into an emergency fund. Then I'd probably put about 7 million into something like SPY or something similar to SPY, right? Basically the S&P 500, and have it reinvest in itself and never touch that money. So that pretty much roughly every 10 years it would double. And then basically have the remaining money slowly start building up a real estate portfolio all in cash that pays for my lifestyle, whatever lifestyle that is, because also the excess cash that it produces, I could just keep on buying more and more properties and increasing the amount of passive income that comes in. Now, I personally wouldn't be managing any of that, especially if I have like a diminished brain function. I would probably end up hiring someone to do that or have my wife do that in this guy's situation. Yeah, that's probably how I would manage this money. Because I mean, this is a massive windfall, but the only problem I see anytime someone gets like a massive windfall like this is that they tend to really screw it up for themselves. And again, his situation is very unique in that he got this money because he got damaged, right? And he didn't just get like physically damaged. He got damaged to the extent where mentally speaking, brain function speaking, he is not going to be operating 100% as to what he was beforehand. So that's a very scary situation. Like some people might be like, well, I mean, maybe if it's just like a little bit of an issue, a little bit of damage, maybe it's not that big of a deal. The thing is, even just being like 10% off of what you used to be is a scary situation, right? That could potentially mean the difference between you going onto the road too late, like you reacting to something too late and then getting hit by a car, getting into an accident, making the wrong choice, stepping on something that you shouldn't stepped on. Like these small like little actions that you take every day could end up turning into something pretty massive. And if you put on top of all that, on top of all the daily stuff that you got to deal with, now you got this massive weight of $27 million on your shoulders, and you're going to be responsible with that. So I really hope that his wife is like an MVP, like a awesome individual that looks out for both of them, because I am very worried that he may not have this money 5 years from now, which would be extremely sad to see. But also, anyone who ends up getting like a massive windfall, that's how you should like basically utilize the money. Pay off your debts, get an emergency fund, put money towards investments, and also try to pay off your house if you have a house, or just try to buy a house that you can live in, so that you can basically regulate your expenses to pretty much the exact same every month, so that there's not like a massive fluctuation, right? Anytime you basically get rid of the questionable expense part in your life, the better it is. And also, if you're paying like rent or mortgage, that's a massive part of your paycheck typically going away every single month. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go down below or go to 40inbox.com and you can learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth.